I'm planning on doing a video titled Eternals, the best MCU film, because I truly feel that way. The film for me had stakes, consequences. It was a fascinating watch. The characters were interesting. The story was fantastic. Chloe Zhao did an amazing job, and I wanted her to do more MCU movies. It didn't feel like an MCU movie. That's probably why many people didn't like the film, but I loved it. I can't wait to watch it again. But today I want to talk about the post-credit scene, the second post-credit scene. Now, I already did a breakdown review of the first one, which featured Harry Styles coming into the MCU. So check that on the channel. But the second one was of Dane Whitman, played by Kit Harington. Now, I was watching Eternals and I was like, why did Kit Harington sign on to this movie? He's barely in it. He was the love interest for Gemma Chan's character, Cersei, and I was like, oh, why? He's barely in this movie. But then it all made sense in the end, because during the movie, he drops that he has a troubled relationship with his uncle, and Gemma Chan's character is like, you have to resolve that issue because the war might be ending. So reach out to your uncle and just sort the problem out. She gives him like a ring with his family crest on it. So there was signs there, and if you're a comic book reader, you probably would have picked up on it straight away, but I don't read the comics, so it didn't make sense to me until the end. But the second post-credit scene was the best of the two, and it set up a lot because it featured Mahershala Ali as Blade doing a voice over. He wasn't actually on screen, which is a pity, but it's great that he's finally in the MCU, because 2 years ago, or even more, he was announced as Blade, but then the pandemic pushed everything back and stuff like that. So we will eventually get a Blade movie, and it looks like Kit Harington will be in that movie as the Black Knight. Now, the Black Knight is a character that is actually very interesting. I read up on the character and I can't wait to see it come to the big screen. But the Black Knight is passed down generation to generation for the Whitman family, and it looks like that Kit Harington's character knew this. He knew about it because he said the relationship between his uncle is complicated, and in the post-credit scene he knew where to go to find his uncle, or to find the ebony blade, which he holds or is about to hold in the post-credit scene, and it turns him into the Black Knight. Now, the ebony blade is very interesting. It's kind of like Thor's hammer. You can summon it to you, you can teleport to it, it takes the souls of its victims, it can cut through anything, it can fight magic. It's a very powerful weapon that would probably be up there with Captain America's shield, Thor's hammer, and weapons like that, and the Legend of the Ten Rings, because it's really, really cool, and the character is awesome. This Black Knight, the costume in the comics is fantastic, so I hope they can bring that into live action form and make it look as badass as it does in the comics. But Kit Harington will have a huge role in the MCU going forward. He is this kind of King Arthur type character. Now, King Arthur was referenced in the movie, Excalibur was as well, so King Arthur did exist, and I wonder if King Arthur and the Black Knight did fight in the comics. I'm not too sure, but that would be some interesting history right there. But Mahershala Ali, final in the MCU, great cameo, great voiceover. I loved it. I could pick up on him straight away because I'm a huge fan of his from True Detective. You know, he was in Luke Cage. He's a terrific actor with Oscars, 2 Oscars I think as well. So him in the MCU was great, and I feel like Kevin Feige just wanted to get him into the MCU as soon as possible, because he was afraid maybe that Mahershala Ali was like, no, I'm good. I've been waiting around for ages. I'm going. I'm doing something else. So I think Kevin Feige was eager just to get Mahershala Ali's foot in the door of this Marvel Cinematic Universe, and it's going to be fantastic to see him as Blade. And it looks like that Kit Harington will be in that movie with him. The two of them will fight side by side, hunting down vampires, maybe, because because in that post-credits scene, Blade did say to Kit Harington's character, are you sure you're ready for that? Because as he was grabbing the ebony blade, the kind of magic or whatever it is started to move towards him, whatever surrounds the sword, and it looks like that maybe Blade will teach him the ways, or teach him the history of the ebony blade, because Blade probably has come across it before. I think in the comics it was created by Dracula, or something like that, I think. And of course, Dracula and Blade have a rivalry as well. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing Kit Harington come back, because he was a very likable character in the movie. He just wasn't in it enough for me, but then I understood why when you watch the post-credit scene. He will be the Black Knight. Pretty cool character, very Game of Thrones-esque. So I'm definitely looking forward to the Blade solo movie that will feature Dane Whitman, played by Kit Harington. So that should be awesome. 2023, 2024 maybe. I just want to see it, because Eternals showed me that MCU is willing to do something different, and I hope that the critical reviews doesn't stop Kevin Feige from saying, let's keep making different movies. Because if the MCU can do this, if they can make the comedy, the formula ones, but then these out there ones like Eternals and Blade, and that's a really good mixture right there. And I think it will help the MCU last longer in terms of people's interests. So yeah, but this post-credit scene, I loved it so much. In the comics as well, the Black Knight was bad. He was a villain. So it's going to be interesting to see how Kit Harington will try and change the perception of the Black Knight. And his uncle is still alive, so maybe the bad relationship with his uncle stems from his uncle being such a bad person. And I wonder, will his uncle be a villain in the Blade movie, or maybe even a Black Knight solo movie? That could be something that's very interesting. And if they get a really great actor for that uncle role, then it will add even more to what we got to see in the Eternals. And of course, Blade is half vampire, half human. That's why he can be out in the daylight and stuff like that. But also, the reason he's half human, half vampire, well, in the comics anyway, his mother, while giving birth to him, was bitten by a vampire. So maybe they'll do that as his origin for this, or they might change it up. I'm not too sure. But guys, what's your thoughts on this second post-credit scene? What did you think of Eternals as a whole? Did you like the first post-credit scene with Harry Styles? This one I thought was much better and set up so much more for the future movies.